I'm Drew.
And I'm John. This episode and every future episode is dedicated to the horror hounds and smokers out there who want to expand their knowledge of the genre and have a good time.
Hopefully you missed us last week because we missed you. Fortunately, John is all better now.
I got as many wins over COVID as America has World War wins.
You've had COVID more times than anybody. Like you're literally like it just bounces off of you at this point. It's crazy. It's just you're contagious, and that's why people can't be around you. That's it. Like it just bounces off you. Fucking Superman. Anyway, today we're talking about Scream 5, and we're gonna gut it like a fish, pun intended. There's the good, there's the bad, there's the in-between, and there's the where we think the series is going. Plus, John's got some really good shit today that we're going to be smoking.
Oh, yeah.
All that and more today on High on Horror. Interviews, reviews, and the latest news all rolled into one.
All right, today I'm bringing that Master Kush. It's from Classics. It's an indica coming in at 26.91% THC.
Damn.
Yeah, check out them mugs, though.
Yeah, let me see this. Hold on. Oh, damn. It looks like a little Christmas tree. Hold on. Oh, that's lovely. It smells lovely. It doesn't even smell like gassy. It's just like, it just smells like flower. It smells like a flower. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to try this shit.
It has a, like, earthy citrus smell. It says it has hints of incense, but I didn't incense.
I guess that's what I'm smelling. I didn't smell
Maybe.
the earthy. I said I smelled like potpourri kind of. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Which is often described as a vintage flavor. It's also known as High Rise, Grandmaster Kush, and I don't know why purple's SoCal Master Kush. I don't really see a whole lot of purple in this.
Grandmaster Kush is the best name, I think. We'll just keep it at that.
And the taste of Master Kush is reminiscent of a famous, it says, hard-rubbed Charas hash. I have no experience with that.
Nope. No, me neither.
The strain holds a superb balance of full-body relaxation without mind-numbing effects. Instead, Master Kush offers a sharpened sensory awareness that can bring out the best of any activity. Well, I mean, guess it's a good time to try it, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely a fucking good time to try it. Hell yeah. Yeah, man, you've been bringing that fire lately, bro. Like, I mean, just about like every episode now you're packing some shit, man. It's nice because like you're having new flavors every week.
Yeah, this is
strains.
a different dispensary I went to this week. I usually get stuff from the one by my house.
Oh yeah, like.
But all these came pre-sealed.
Like you mean like they didn't weigh it out in the dispensary?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they just come in these like 7-gram bags.
Well, damn, that's pretty awesome.
Dude, I tried a little bit of it last night, and that shit fucked me up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You texted me, and you were, like, stumbling your fucking words in text
Yeah,
like you were
it was
drunk.
Like I put a word in here, I went to correct it and never deleted it, so then I just kept typing, and then the word bud just got thrown to the end.
Yeah, I was like, I think you. It's funny when you do that. Like, I'll get texts all the time, and I'll just read them correctly. I won't even realize, like, that there's something out of place until someone points it out to me. I'm like, I'm so used to reading fuck-ups that I just brush right over it.
What I've ended up doing is I have Grammarly downloaded to my phone, so that way when I finish typing it out, this goes back and it searches your sentences and goes back and it's like you fucked up here. It's helped a lot, but then sometimes I get too high and I forget about it, so I just don't even use it and still fuck up anyway.
Yeah,
I'm sure our producer Josh can account. Back in the days of AIM, him and Kenny used to talk about how much I would just misspell shit. Yeah. Because I would just type it out and I would never go back and actually read it before I said it. It all came out of my brain, so I know it has to somehow made it on the paper right, and usually never did. Well,
it's funny that that you brought that up because I actually started writing again, and I'm writing this I'm writing a horror novel. I don't know if I've told you about this or not, but I got pretty deep into it actually. Like this is this. No dirty jokes. This is as deep into anything I've gotten in a while, and it's my point in all of this is that I started writing and I saw the Grammarly thing. I saw a commercial for it. And I thought about using that as like a helping tool because I'm like that is really good. But something that always brings back to me. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said that when you're writing, like you should never use like editors are basically useless because the whole point of the story is like it has to come from your mouth. and to like you need to just say it the way that it comes out, and to go back and correct that for grammar reasons is taking your voice away. And I kind of like that. So like when it comes to like writing a book, I'm not going to use Grammarly, but in every other sense of the word, I can totally like see that as just being something I'd use like every day.
Well, also you could use it to correct misspelled words too.
Well, yeah, that too, right?
Kind of like autocorrect. But yeah, there is the one where like it does try to change your speech a lot of times. I've noticed, and I'm like, no, I'm fine with how it came out.
Well, yeah, this shit's fucking good, man. Thank you for bringing this heat. You ready to talk about Scream 5?
Hell yeah!
All right, let's do it.
And now it's time to get into the main reason you're here, Scream. No, not the original one. You know, Scream. Or Scream 22 or Scream 25 or... Like, why the fuck could they just call this Scream 5?
Exactly.
Like, did the same thing with fucking Halloween. Like, there's 3 movies, Halloween. Like, shit's ridiculous.
You're not fooling anybody, and this is said in the movie, but you're not fooling anybody. We know that this is not it's not a remake, so it's just really ridiculous to go by the same name.
Yeah, I mean, it's 25 years after the original series of the murders in Woodsboro. I mean, because studios need money, and Scream's a good name, so, you know, people got to die in Woodsboro again. We have a new Ghostface emerging. And I mean, what's a Scream movie without Sidney Prescott? So we got to get her back in, and then, you know, we got to also do like The Force Awakens, where we got to introduce everybody. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, this shit's like the formulas were like, oh, let's reboot movies. No, people are getting tired and roll their eyes every time they hear reboots. So like, let's make a sequel, but tie it to our original franchise of the original one from like 30 or 40 years ago.
That's trying to remake the original.
But we're going to keep those old characters because we know you'll buy in for that, and then we can slip in these new characters for you.
Exactly, and that's where the whole cash in comes from. It's like, yeah, if you heard that there was a new movie just going by Scream without a 5 at the end, with none of the original cast involved, and it was just all new people, the movie would not have been as popular. Absolutely not have been as popular. That's just it. We'll bring in the old cast so it kind of ties into the original series. That's really the only, like, that's the basic point of the movie, basically. Like, the movie couldn't exist without the original cast, but at the same time, like, they're the reason that it exists, because they have to use them to sell the movie.
Yeah, and I mean, it did its job. Did pretty well its first week in the box office. And I will say, I have to give them credit. I like the term they used to be meta in this movie, requels.
I was going to bring that up, too.
Sum that up perfectly. I was like, okay, that's a good point.
And I will say also that the directors, Matt Bettinelli Open and Tyler Gillette, they did some fucking smooth camera work with this movie. Like, it goes right with Wes's first 4.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like Woodsboro, just with very much updated technology.
Yeah.
I want to know how they look like they're in the poor part of town, kind of. But, like, she has these, like, security locks on her door through their, like, phone. I'm like, this doesn't match up with the house you're in. Like, how do you have this level of security?
Well,
maybe what happened is Woodsboro, because of the Ghostface killings keep happening, they just, like, passed a law and made everybody's houses that way. So all the residents got updated security systems.
I mean, that'd be amazing, but I highly doubt that the government gives that much shit about its citizens or civilians.
I don't know. It's Woodsboro. It seems like it's supposed to be an upscale.
So you think maybe they'd be like, yeah, 25 years ago some murders happened, so you know what? We're gonna hook you all up with some free locks that are electronic, just in case this shit happens again.
I don't see a fault in the logic.
All right, so this movie picks up with Tara Carpenter, played by Jenny Ortega. And she answers the phone at the very opening scene of the film. And just like the original Scream, the phone call takes place on a landline, just like Drew Barrymore answered. And Tara...
For that updated house, they got a landline? Come on.
That was just one of those things they needed to make the movie work, you know? So Tara actually escapes Ghostface and survives the attack. It's not a death. And basically, her attack brings back Sam Carpenter, her sister, her estranged sister, played by Melissa Barrera. And Sam basically tells Tara, hey, you know what? I think that these killings are happening because Billy Loomis is my father. They hit you with a curveball that Billy Loomis has a child. And guess what? Skeet Ulrich makes an appearance as Billy Loomis in these sort of like Harry Dexter moments.
I was gonna say I was gonna say that I like Ghost Billy Loomis, like I like Ghost Dexter Daddy.
I was gonna say, how did you feel about the de-aging?
I thought they did really well. Like
Agreed.
there's a lot of times where I was trying to like I feel like sometimes what was it? The Irishman, you could see it in The Irishman, but like in just such a short period of time, I feel like they've come a long way.
Agreed. And the funny thing is, I just met Skeet in August for your fiance Nicole. I got her autograph, and it's funny because I told my wife, I was like, yo, I'm not even gonna front with you. Skeet Ulrich's a fucking good looking dude. Like that dude was fucking good looking. So I'm being real with you, like that's the honest truth. So I'm like, they really didn't have to do much work to de-age him. I mean, yeah, he's aged, but like that's part of why it looked good. I don't think they had a very hard job.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then how'd you think about Dewey looking like he'd been through a bunch of cage matches?
Well, that's Dewey looks like
when he was doing that death wrestling with Nick
CZW.
Cage.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting to that. We're getting to that. So after Tara is told that her sister Sam is Billy's daughter, basically they break apart, and there's this like getting to know the characters, as John said, where like you get to meet Dewey. Dewey is the first cast member that we see back, and that man is just broken.
Yeah, and then I mean, he looking pretty rough. He was asked to retire.
Yeah, his marriage to Gail
Swallows.
His marriage to Gail just goes out the window. Basically, the story goes that she got a gig in New York, and he left after like 2.5 months because he just missed Woodsboro. He just left in the middle of the night and threw his marriage to Gail away, and now he lives in a trailer, and he's a drunk, and he's been forced off the police force because he's an alcoholic, and he's a broken man, and he's actually called upon by Sam and her boyfriend Richie to basically help them find out who could be attacking Tara, because they know it has to be related to the fact that Sam is Billy's daughter.
And Dewey gives his opinion on who he thinks it is.
Oh, he does.
It's always the boyfriend.
Hey, the first thing he does, how long have you known him? Just goes right into all that stuff. And from there, we meet Gail's back, and then, of course, Sydney gets involved, and after a while, basically, long story short, Ghostface kills a bunch of people, and we end up at Stu's house from the first film at a party where the climax happens and we find out who the killers are, and it's basically a reimagining of the ending of the first Scream, an updated version.
Yeah, and I have to say we didn't get a lot of Neve Campbell.
No, she wasn't in the movie. She
kind of had that. I guess Luke wasn't even in The Force Awakens, but yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of her. I wonder if she really just didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
And that's true, but the other thought that I had was that I don't really feel that. Besides David Arquette, which Dewey, he had the biggest role of them in the film of the older cast. I feel that that was really just a means to. I'm sorry. I feel that that none of the cast was really, the original cast was in the movie that much because they were trying to make the new movie supported by the younger cast, and I think that they did that. I definitely think that the younger cast carried the movie well, and the older cast definitely added to that. But the movie did not rely on the older cast for its structure. It definitely was carried by the newer cast. They did a good job.
Yeah, and also the Stab series is still ongoing.
Stab 8, right?
Yeah, they're up to Stab 8. Was actually wasn't Drew Barrymore, I think, had a cameo.
I don't know, but I know that Matthew Lillard played the Ghostface with the golden mask.
Oh, really?
That was his cameo. I saw that. Yeah.
Well, I saw he had been petitioning for the longest time that he should be the killer in the new movie, and him and Skeet was like, dude, you're dead. And Matthew Lillard said, I'll throw a TV on my face right now and prove that I can live through it. And I don't for a second doubt he would do it.
No, I don't either. But I will say that I do like how Stu and Dewey. Stu and Dewey Stu and Billy are brought back in this movie, and even though Stu isn't physically in the movie, his house is a big part of the movie. So like I think I liked that aesthetic, so to speak. But all right, so let's get into what we liked.
I was
going
to
to
say Randy has a very loose tie into the movie.
He does.
Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah. Sorry, tell me, what were your likes about the movie?
Like I said, I liked the requel thing. I did like that they had that original theme with like the bells, which I still swear Peaky Blinders like ripped off for their show. Because every time I hear it, I think Peaky Blinders at first.
Totally.
I always actually like. Nicole was watching that recently, and I was like, "Are you watching Peaky Blinders?" And I was like, "I don't know. You're watching the original Scream." I did like that Dewey got Han Soloed. He was like their guide, and then at the end, he gets killed.
Han Soloed. I get that. That was a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, for what I liked, I mean, there's nothing that stood out. It wasn't bad. I thought it was an okay movie. There was some, like, it felt like when I was watching it, there was a lot of times it would make me think of other movies. That hospital felt very Halloween 2-ish. Like, who the hell
you know what?
Who the hell is working in there?
That's what I was going to say. It was fucking desolate.
And then it felt almost like It Chapter 2, where all the adults are coming back. Like, everybody except Dewey left. Mm-hmm. And now everybody's got to come back to Woodsboro to try to stop this. Dewey seemed like he was Laurie Strode ripped out of 2018 Halloween at first. Like, he's this recluse, like, get away from me. And then reluctantly gets involved again.
The reluctant hero, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, like, that hospital, just for, like, pure logic, that, like, who the hell was working in this hospital? Like, nobody. And you have somebody who was just stabbed and brought there and then attacked again, and then you're going to put them on a floor by themselves? That seems like the worst idea.
Yeah, it was, again, like, just disrespecting police work in this movie. Like, just making police look like total...
I think Woodsboro would have got it together at this point.
Especially when there's a ghost face killer. Like, you'd think... Again. But, so, yeah, I basically, like... I guess I agree with you. I don't really have anything in particular that I liked about the movie. I will say that, like, I was smiling throughout the duration because it did bring back, like, memories, and it was very, like, retro, and, like, definitely put me in that mood of, like, the first film. It was a fun ride. I honestly had no idea who the killers were. I really didn't. Like, I was going back and forth over who I thought they were, and my honest answers were who I thought they were. It was going to be too obvious. So I was like, nah, it's not going to be them. And then of course it ends up being Amber and Richie. And
yeah, I thought Amber. That I was like, they're really pushing Amber. And obviously, spoiler alert, those are the killers. But and Richie is the one that Dewey pegs in the beginning. In the very beginning, when he says, like, it's usually the lover. It's the first thing he says. Yeah, he says something like it's always the boyfriend. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and but the thing with Amber that I didn't suspect her because, like, she went upstairs to help. She goes upstairs to help Tara get her inhaler. And she comes back down and she's like, she sees that Ghostface had murdered, and she's like, I was upstairs with Tara. It was one of you motherfuckers. It's not us. And I was like, oh shit, it's not her. She's right. Like, I was like, they got me. And then literally in that same scene, she pulls a gun out and, shoots Liv right in the face. Liv, played by Sonia MR, just shoots her right in the face. You're like, oh goddamn! Like, so I think it was kind of like a curveball. You suspected her, then you didn't, then bam, you like kind of like what they did with Billy in the first one. But I didn't see either killer coming. I honestly didn't predict either one. Richie, played by Jack Quaid. I told you, I said I doubt this was their logic, but I felt like he always plays like that wholesome guy and everything, like in The Boys and stuff. And I was just like, that'd be the perfect one. Nobody's going to suspect him because of the characters he plays. But I went back and forth on Amber, but I felt like he was going to be the other one once you get to the point where you're like, okay, there's definitely two of them. Yeah, and I get you totally. So you narrowed it down to a point where you were kind of like thinking like this has to be. Yeah, I'm sure my logic wasn't exactly the way they did that, but I went back and forth on Amber, but
Jack, you were just kind of like unsure of, but you were letting it ride on him. Like, I'm just
yeah.
gonna. Yeah, that makes sense. I get
Based
that.
on his body of work in other movies is why I suspected him
Well,
as a curveball.
it's funny though because Amber's death in the film, which is actually one of the things that happened with her death, is one of my dislikes that we'll get into in the next segment. But her death, she gets shot and she gets hand sanitizer, a bottle of hand sanitizer broken over her face, shot in the stomach, and then set on fire from the oven. And it's actually really ironic and really funny because she plays one of the Manson family girls that commits the murders for Manson in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And in that movie, Leonardo DiCaprio sets her on fire with a flamethrower. So then here we are in Scream 5, and she's being set on fire with an oven. Like, she kind of has a trend going. Whenever she plays a bad guy, she's getting set on fire.
I wonder if she's done her own flame work.
At this point, she might as well. I mean, I'm sure she's getting paid that stunt money. You never know. But okay. Before we get into, do you have any more? I wanted to go into our favorite deaths, but before we do, our favorite death rather. But before I do, is there any other positives you wanted to say about the movie?
I guess I kind of already went into a lot of my negatives, and I only really had a couple positives. But
well, that's the thing. The positive is just kind of like it was a decent movie. It was a good movie.
It's nothing that stood out that was like, oh, that was really good.
Or even
everything
needed to
was
happen,
nostalgia-wise, honestly.
Agreed. Yeah, that's what won the movie over. It's like the hardcore fans appreciated it for the nostalgia, where they're trying to rope in the newer fans with the newer, younger cast. I'm not newer and younger. I honestly don't follow any of no offense to any of them. I don't follow any of the newer people's careers. I don't know anything they're from. So it definitely didn't rope me in from the new cast. So out of the people who went to the movie because of the new cast, I wasn't part of that crowd. I definitely went because Ghostface and Nev Campbell.
Yeah. Well, I like Jack Quaid from The Boys.
Right.
But yeah, and also I'm not a huge fan of the series. I really liked the first one, and 2, 3, and 4. Whatever. I don't really.
Well, I agree with you.
I thought 5 looked good, and then I remember you told me that how quickly it was greenlit, and I said, okay, maybe this will be good. And it was all right.
Yeah, and I agree with you that I think the first film is damn near close to a masterpiece. I truly do. Why people don't like that movie baffles me. It's so ingenious. It truly is. It's a fucking genius movie. It really only someone who's smart and really knows their shit could really write that and write it in that way. And Kevin Williamson killed it. I appreciate the first film like a motherfucker. I always have supported that movie. 2 I hated. 3 was worse. 4 I liked. I really liked 4. I thought 4 was if they didn't do 2 and 3, they could have just taken all that time off and came back with 4 and would have been fine. They really didn't need the in-betweens.
Yeah, it's kind of like The Matrix for me. I enjoyed the first one and the sequels or whatever.
All right, well, what's your favorite death in the film?
Man, I can't even remember them.
Oh, shit.
There's nothing that I can think of that's really stood out to me.
Well, I like when Wes Hicks, son of Sheriff Judy Hicks, who was in Scream 4, I like when he gets killed in his home after Judy gets killed, and he gets stabbed in the throat. And the knife goes, and you see the knife coming out the side of his throat. I really because it's just such the reason I like it is not just because you've seen the knife going through the neck.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
you've seen the knife going through the neck, and you've seen that before. But what stood out about the scene was that they actually held on it. It wasn't just oh shit, the knife went through his neck. It's the camera sat there and just you just watch him bleeding out with this knife in his neck. And I thought that's kind of gruesome. That they could have cut that by 10 seconds.
That's true. That's a good one. I tell you what, I did. The things I didn't like was the killing in daylight.
Oh yeah,
Ghostface is ballsy.
So that was a dislike, you said?
Yeah, I was no. You're supposed to be scared at night.
You got to stop saying your dislikes.
Do
you have a favorite death that's not a dislike?
When they ended the movie.
Damn.
Okay, that's a little harsh. No, but I'd probably go with yours. I forgot about that one.
Okay.
Because that one was pretty early on too.
Yeah, it was before the third act of the film for sure. All right, man. So look, I'm gonna let you lead. Go into your dislikes.
Oh. I mean,
is it your hit on the bong or mine? I'm gonna pull
yours.
it. I'm gonna pull it. All right, cool. It's mine.
like I said, the killings in the daylight, I don't think it needed to be 2 hours long. You could have cut that by like an extra 20 minutes. None of the new characters made me care about them, really. I mean, the only
That's a
time,
solid point. I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you. That's a really solid point.
like, at least, I know I always go back to Force Awakens, but I feel like it's the first movie it really started this whole trend now. At least they had characters of the new group they brought in that made you kind of care about them. At least one. There's nobody in this group that I really cared for.
They were funny. There was a lot of like humor, but yeah, in regards to caring about them, they made you laugh, but you didn't care about them. That's true.
And again, back to another Matrix reference. To agree with our producer Josh, I don't see why this movie had to be made. I know I sound really, really negative on it, but I mean, it's not a bad movie.
Just unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. It was okay. I enjoyed it enough, but I don't ever really have interest in watching it again.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I don't have interest in watching it again. I will say that like it's definitely like whenever it's just like with Saw, it's the Scream in general. This is the best way I can put it. The Scream movies in general, whenever I want to watch a Scream, I 9 out of 10 times just throw the first one on. When I don't, I throw the fourth one on. That 1 out of 10 times, it'll be the fourth one. This one is just kind of lumped in the same. Like even when it comes out, I'll buy it and I'll watch it again. But whenever I'm in the mood to watch a Scream movie, I'm going to throw the first one on. It didn't jump the rank or like stand up to the par of the first one or anything like that. The one thing that stood out to me that I was talking to my wife about was after we left the theater. We said, in the theater after it ended and the credits started rolling, yeah, we liked it. That was good. We liked it. But I realized that like 2 days had passed and I had come home from work and taken a shower and put my kids to bed. And I told my wife, I'm like, hey, Sam, like 2 days have passed and not even in the car ride home, we literally didn't mention the movie at all. Like we said what we said about it in the theater before we left, that we liked it. But then it was literally just such a rehash that even though it was enjoyable, it was just so forgettable because we've seen this before, like a lot. And so it just kind of like went right out, like literally just right out the window where it's like life went on as soon as we left the theater. And it wasn't intentional because like John said, it's not a bad movie. We liked it. It's just unfortunately forgettable. It's just like, yeah, I saw it. It's good. And yeah, I couldn't even remember the killers' names. At the like 2 days later, I was like, I don't even remember like the names of the killers. Like literally, it like you said, I agree with it. It didn't need to be made. I just feel that it's what we've seen before. And one of the things I wanted to point out to you is how the fuck did Dewey know where they were meeting up at when they all have like the meeting to like find out like who the killer is and interrogate all of Tara's friends? Like this is like days or a day after or even later in the day, like that Dewey shows up at like what was it? Mindy's house. And that used to be like yeah, I think it was Mindy's house. Well, like. He just shows up and they're like, oh, look who decided to show up. And I'm like, he kicked you all out after telling you that you need to interrogate your friends. You all didn't tell him which friend you were starting with, where you all were meeting. When he showed up, you acted surprised. So I know you all weren't calling him on the phone and texting him.
He's super
just like a convenient write-in. Those things are things that I don't like. Those convenient write-ins where it's just like, oh, they're there. And like people think to not question that. Well, I tend to question that. Like, how did he know where they were? Yeah, he shows up, but how? Like, come on, you could have been like, hey, Dewey's calling me. Oh, yeah, we're here. You just skip that and just, the hero shows up. And it doesn't really work for me. Doesn't really make sense.
Oh, yeah, another dislike. I mean, I get that you're trying to do the requel and be meta about it, but, like, they literally go back to Stu's house.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like that aesthetic, but I get how it could be a downfall, too.
I'm like, okay, we're going to do the same thing over again.
Yeah, and speaking of that, when I was talking earlier about Amber's death, I said there was something I didn't like about it, and it was there's more than one. I've seen the movie twice, and I can't remember the rest of them, but this one stood out particularly into me. There's a couple of really cheesy hero moments that kind of take you out of it, and it's like when Amber, because Amber kills Dewey, and I'm gonna get into his death in a second. When Amber kills Dewey, that makes Courtney Cox want revenge. That makes, Gail want revenge. So basically her and Sydney team up to take on Amber, and they're, Gail and Sydney are laying on the floor, and Amber's hurt, and she's about to come at them, and Sid just taking their time, slow as fuck. Sydney just picks up the gun and goes, and Courtney Cox just reaches out and goes, "No, I got it. I owe her one," or something cheesy like that. And this music kicks on, and she grabs the gun and she shoots her, and then it's when she hits the oven and blows up and gets caught on fire. And I'm like, the little like one-liners and like the "No, I got this one," or "This one's mine," and like the bitch, she was running at y'all, like she was coming at you, and you're just taking your time, acting cool, just getting up, shrugging off your shoulders and popping like you just got shot. Like the way they tried to turn everybody into a hero. I didn't enjoy those moments, so I didn't like that.
It's funny because you talk about Dewey being killed and it affecting her. It goes back to my Han Solo reference again.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
They're estranged, then he dies. I just thought of something, though, I actually did like.
Okay.
Even though I complained about Stu's house, the scene where, instead of where Stu or Randy in the original is watching Halloween and doing the behind you, she's watching Stab, whatever. I guess the original Stab movie with the same thing happening. I thought that one was funny.
Yeah, yeah.
It's his was it his niece?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to talk about that was, it's part of my likes and dislikes, so I just kept it in my dislikes because after mulling it over in my head, I ended up weighing it more as a dislike than a like. So Dewey dies in this film. For those of you who don't know, and we've said it a few minutes ago, Dewey dies, and they give Dewey his moment. But I'm a little bit salty about it, to be honest. I know that people don't like David Arquette, and some people hate the character even, but the truth is he is a lifer. He'd been there from the beginning. And we'd seen him go from being the fumbling idiot trying to get Gail, to being with her, to being married to her, now to being divorced from her and being a broken man, trying to make. We saw his character arc, and I really appreciated that. Like, he has a really he has a character arc. He has a legit story, but to him, like the story's told, and he dies, and he shoots Ghostface, gets everybody, to safety on an elevator, and then goes, "I gotta shoot him in the head though," and like sends everybody down in the elevator, goes back.
That annoyed me.
Yeah,
that annoyed me. I'm like, come on, really?
Exactly.
You kind of. I was like, okay, well, he's dead now.
That's what I was gonna say. That was the well, that's it for Dewey. That's kind of that was a giveaway. But the thing was him and Ghostface had fought, like there was a real struggle, and he even says like, "Not today," and he bests Ghostface. He has his hero moment where he actually kicks Ghostface's ass and shoots him several times in the chest. But then, like what I just said, he makes the mistake of coming back and going,
teenagers are super powered, and I guess young adults are super powered in Woodsboro.
And he comes back in and decides to go for the headshot to end it. His phone rings. He looks down for half a second. Ghostface jumps up, stabs him in the stomach with one knife, stabs him in the back with another knife, and it just kind of like rips the knives up and down his stomach and back, and he bleeds him out, and then says, "It was an honor," and leaves him there dead and bloody. And part of me was like, damn, they gave him his hero moment where he had his story arc came to a climax, and he had his hero moment where he finally wasn't the fumbling idiot and fucking stood up for people and like kicked ass. And then I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, and then at the end of the movie when you find out it's Amber, you realize that he got bested by a teenage girl. And that really bothers me, that's how he went out. Not that I'm sexist, I don't care, girls can kick ass, I know that there's plenty of girls that could kick my ass, I would never deny that. But to see this guy, a veteran, a cop, get his ass whooped and get bested by a teenage girl, that hurts. That just was unnecessary. And I would have... Hold on, you want to interject? I'm going to let you interject real quick.
Look, but you said he wasn't being a bumbling idiot. Why'd he check his phone before he shoots somebody in the head that he knows can come back and kill him? Oh, I got a phone call. Let me check this.
Hollywood convenience. But no, yeah, I guess in a sense you could say he was an idiot for getting off the elevator. But I think that is an idiotic move.
Elevator and checking his phone.
Right, but I think that those were all telltale signs to let us know like this was it for him, But here was my thing, and I told my sister this, and I told my wife Sam this. I'm like, look, when Ghostface killed him. I wasn't mad at, and this is why I had to think about it. I was like, damn, that was a good death. He had his hero moment. He tried. He went out. Like, that's cool. Like, good for him. I like that. And then when I realized that it was Amber, and I was like, that kind of disappoints me that he got bested by a teenage girl. And then I started thinking, I'm like, man, it would have been so much more poignant and like just like definitive and much more of a better death if both ghost faces were in that hospital. Could you imagine if you're like, fuck yeah, and you're rooting for him like you were when you saw the film, and he's really about to shoot him in the head, no cheesy phone ring to throw him off, he's really about to have him, and you're like, oh my god, fuck yeah, and then the second Ghostface jumps him and stabs him a couple times or starts fighting him and cuts him up, and that would be like, a fuck, he had him, no, like you would feel that, you would be like, god damn it, but you didn't feel that in this one. You were just like, damn, that sucks, and then you realize, damn, he got fucked up by a teenage girl. Like, I really am not happy with that.
I have to agree with you, even though I'm not a David Arquette fan. Dewey did have a character arc throughout all those movies. Sydney's ended after the first one, really.
She just keeps coming back for the same reasons, yeah.
Well, there's no more real arc to it.
Maybe that's why she wasn't in the movie that much.
Yeah. So I will say that, even though I'm not a big Arquette fan, you got a point there with him having a character arc through all these movies.
Do you agree that you think he should have had a better death for being the character that he was?
Probably, yeah. And I mean, like, even Gail she ended up in the end going back to what she knew. She just stayed with the news. Like, Dewey told her that, and she shows up with her news van, and he's like, you brought him? And she's like, well, if I didn't, somebody else would have.
Exactly, yeah. And okay, so lastly, like, what I have to say, in regards to my things that I dislike about the film, is the motivation behind the killings. I found was completely uninspiring. I had heard that this movie was going to be better than Scream 4. A lot of people said it was. Darcy the Mail Girl from Joe Bob said it was better than Scream 4. After watching the movie twice, I have to hard disagree. I think Scream 4 Reigns Supreme is the best sequel. It made the most sense, and the story and the motivation was there for it. It had the right amount of time since the first film to come and take place and tell the story that it did. It was really like the best follow-up to the first film. This one, the killings are because like fucking Richie and Amber are uber fans of the Stab series, and the Stab series has gone to shit. The eighth movie is like a slap in the face to horror fans. So basically, long story short, they're hardcore horror fans who want to commit real murders and recreate like the murders that happened in the first Stab movie, or that was inspired by that the first Stab movie was inspired by. They want to recreate those murders with a new twist to give Hollywood a true story to write about, so they can get the Stab series back on track. That to me is weak as fuck as a motivation. Like you essentially turn the fan base into the killers.
But is that not a dedicated fan base?
It is the fan base, but also
damn, they're willing to go that far to get their movie back on track. Imagine people start killing people out in the woods to get Friday the 13th back and going.
Doesn't that kind of make the point though? Remember the thing that said in the first Scream film when it's like, movies don't make psychos, like I forget the quote like word for word, but it's like,
paraphrase. I think it was Stu, right?
Yeah.
He said movies make killers more creative.
Yeah, and I feel that like that's kind of, this movie basically is saying that like people who watch horror movies can become like uber fans and become killers. It's kind of a smack in the face really to horror fans when it's like we fight for that type of bullshit to be censored about. Like, horror movies do not make you kill, neither does music. You're fucked in the head if something you watch or something you listen to makes you kill. You should not be that easily influenced. There's something wrong with you. I'm sorry to say it. And I just that type of shit really pisses me off.
Yeah, it didn't bother me as much, but I just want to talk to the writers and ask them how they think the story that they wrote moves this franchise's story ahead. And I guess you could come back at me and say I am a fan of Friday the 13th, and what did any of those movies need after the first one, but I don't know. I feel like there's a little more budget put into the Scream movies, but
oh yeah, they're polished, that's for sure.
But I just like, what did this movie do to move the franchise ahead or move the story ahead?
Nothing. I mean, here's the thing. It's kind of funny. Gail says she says at the end of the movie that she's gonna write a book about Dewey and not the murders that happened. She said, these killers, those fuckers can die in anonymity for all that I care, and I really just feel that speaks for like the killers in the movie.
Oh, that's rough, but that's true. Like, was, I think, my sister said that she saw, because she saw the movie with us. She's like, I can't even remember any of the new characters' names off the top of my head.
Yeah, I told you I couldn't remember the killers. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I keep, because Jack Quaid, I keep having to remember his name's Richie. I kept calling him Huey from his character in The Boys.
The Boys, yeah, he's good in The Boys. But all right, my final rating. All right, let me do it this way. I'm actually going to give you my rating because these to me, this still is like the third best in the film. I'd still take this film over 2 and 3. So I would put it as 1, 4, and 5. So I would do 1, 9.5, 4, 8, Scream 2022, 7, hard 7.
Oh, so you want do you want me to do my top?
Yeah, do your top 3 and rate them in order.
The first one, I give it like a 9.4.
Okay.
And then
like
next,
a 0.1 off.
I would put 2.
Scream 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would give that like a 7. And then I guess 3, and that's like a 6.5.
So you're just doing the OG trilogy. You're just
Yeah.
doing okay. So wait, so hold on. Okay, so you didn't include the new movie in your new trilogy. You just did the OG
Yeah,
trilogy.
so,
So wait, so
yeah,
if the lowest one in your trilogy is a 6.5, brother, what does the new Scream? What did it garnish from you?
This number's been standing out the whole time, a 5.2.
Oh,
It's like out of 10.
damn.
It's a middle.
dude,
but
what about a
slightly just above.
5.5? Give it like a halfway
I
point.
don't know if I can go that high.
Damn. So, okay, so I definitely liked it more than you.
Yeah,
I definitely liked
this
it
is
more than you for
forgettable.
sure.
Like, but
I agree, it's forgettable.
It sounds bad. Like, it's not bad. I gave it a 5 out of 10. It's okay, but that's all it is. I have no interest in ever seeing it again. It's not like, oh god, it's so bad.
But if somebody puts it on, you're not going to be like, oh, I have to turn it off, right?
Like, there's a lot worse movies I could be forced to watch than Scream 5.
Fair enough.
It's just it's stuck to its formula for good or for
Better or worse, absolutely. All right, well, you know what? We're gonna throw in a little.
A little burn and learn.
That's right. We're gonna throw in a little burn and learn for you. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Oh.
Burn and learn.
David Arquette, who is a certified Bob Ross painting instructor, taught several of the cast members how to paint like the legendary artist during breaks.
In the prior Scream films, it's been criticized by fans. They've been criticized by fans for the fact that Dewey never mentions his sister Tatum's death, who's played by Rose McGowan in the first film. So actually in this film, they give her a little nod. We see that he keeps her ashes on the mantle.
When Dewey first calls Sidney, he asks, "How's Mark?" Presumably, Mark is Sidney's husband and likely a reference to Detective Mark Kincaid, Patrick Dempsey's character from Scream 3.
Follow that up. Although Mark, aka Patrick Dempsey, doesn't appear in the film, we learned that what happened to his character in Scream 3 was that he ended up marrying Sidney, as we later hear on the phone that Sidney and Mark had kids.
When Richie opens the door while Tara is hiding in the hospital, she hits him over the head with the phone she's holding. Richie then asks, "Did you just hit me with a phone?" In the first Scream movie, Billy hits Stu with the phone, foreshadowing that Richie is one of the killers.
David Arquette had to regrow his mustache for this role, for the role of Dewey again, and he was actually supposedly really excited to do that.
That's interesting. This is the first Scream film where neither of the killers have a personal motive against Sidney Prescott. It's also the first Scream film not to feature an opening murder, and the first Scream to spare the opening victim.
The new cast members have all stated that radio silence was extremely secretive about the true ending of the film during production, to point out that none of the cast knew the final outcome. Actually, all of the different cast members were given different scripts with different endings, so nobody would know. Yeah.
And the Ace Stab movie is referred to as the one done by the Knives Out guy, and changed up the typical Stab formula to include many new and unwelcome changes, which you could say about this one maybe as well. And it's a very obvious nod to Rian Johnson's controversial The Last Jedi.
Well, and here's a little interesting fact. It's kind of cool how they timed this. I wish that they would do this with Halloween and actually put it on the 31st or something, but when Scream 5 was released on January 14th, 2022, it was exactly 25 years and 25 days since the original film came out on December 20th in 1996.
And that's all we got here for you on Burn and Learn. And thanks to the horror hounds and smokers out there for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us ramble and rant about Scream. Not the original Scream, the new one. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll call it S25.
There you go.
Tune in
Ghostface Killer.
Tune in next week when we talk with Mortuary Collection Director Ryan Spindell. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at High on Horror 420. Go to our website, highonhorror.com, and you can sign up for our newsletter and get upcoming guest announcements and episodes delivered directly to your inbox. And you can always email us as well at highonhorror420@gmail.com. Well, that'll about wrap her up. Catch you later.
Bye, everybody.